Welcome to our 2026 Insight series, a mini podcast series where we'll be exploring key sustainable finance thematics for this year. And today we'll be diving into nature and biodiversity topics that we think will increasingly mainstream next year. I'm Arthur Krebers from Sustainable Finance Advisory Team, joined by Shubha Somalia from the Macro Strategy Team. We'll speak about the big picture, the policy, disclosure, and the financial innovation perspectives over the coming minutes. And I guess to set the scene from my perspective, what is quite notable is if you look at the institutional developments here, if you look at where central bank policy is heading, is increasing now looking not just at the climate agenda and its impact on market stability, price stability, but also on the wider nature agenda, be that biodiversity, be that water, be that air. So you're seeing that evolve, but you're also seeing it evolve amongst other actors in the capital markets. So be that corporate strategies, be that investment strategies and fund thematics, it's increasingly an area that we're all focusing on. But really welcome, Shubha, your perspective on how that then links to the original ESG topic of climate transition.
Well, thank you, Arthur. Thanks a lot. I think urgency with respect to incorporation of nature is a key here. More than half of the global GDP currently depends on nature, and failing to act sort of put at risk trillions of dollars in lost ecosystem services, impacting water, people lives in general, basically day-to-day existence. Extreme weather events have been rising. 2024 was the hottest year on record, and for the first half of 2025 itself, the economic losses have been around $162 billion. Having said that, there is currently an annual funding gap of around $700 billion with respect to nature restoration and nature protection. While most of the corporates have climate-related targets, nature targets are still either rare or underdeveloped. There is a mounting pressure from investors for corporates to sort of demonstrate how they're going to handle any disruption to their critical infrastructure, like water supplies, electricity, transport for that matter. And all these things, like you mentioned, have implications for central markets as well, all these extreme weather events. It has an implication for their dual mandate, both price stability, economic growth. And again, this is very strongly linked to the original climate transition. I don't think we can successfully navigate through this transition without having nature as our ally. Ecosystems are the largest carbon sinks, and they are also getting impacted by climate change. So this sort of creates an entire feedback loop. So it's very important to understand and to recognize the full value that nature brings to the table as we sort of navigate through these times.
No, fully agreed. And I think let's focus now a bit more on the policy side and welcome your perspective, Shubha, on what ECB and the NGFS are doing in this area.
No, of course, there are policy initiatives which are happening. ECB is at the forefront of these changes, these initiatives. The bank in its 2025 Monetary Policy Strategy Assessment Review underscored its commitment to understand what nature risks, climate risks sort of mean for monetary policy. And given the close linkages between climate risks and nature risk, the 2025 disclosure from the bank also included a new indicator which measure banks and Eurosystems corporate portfolio exposure to sectors that have material dependencies on nature. ECB is doing this work in concert with NGFS, Network of Greening the Financial System, and other central banks. It's a strong group, 148 central banks sort of coming together and being strongly committed to tackle, to understand the nature risks, the climate risks within the financial system. The nature-related task force, NGFS has a special one for nature-related task force, is expected to come up with some climate stress tests, nature-related scenarios as we go through the year.
Yeah, and I think this is really quite interesting because this is going to then have knock-on effects on financial market participants, right? When the regulators set a clear agenda around this, incorporating that into their prudential oversight, that will mean that financial institutions, be that banks, be that asset managers, as they go about making their own lending, their own investment decisions, they're going to start having to look at not just climate transition and physical vulnerabilities, but also this nature perspective. So how's my portfolio exposed to biodiversity ecosystem loss, to water scarcity, to air pollution elements. So we'll increasingly feature as in financial institutions make day-to-day decisions. And we think in 2026, as you say, the sophistication, the quantification of that decision making will improve. Now, perhaps we focus a bit more now on the disclosure and the corporate piece, because as we all know, what was a key catalyst around the climate transition disclosure was the TCFD, right, the Task Force of Climate-Related Financial Disclosures. Over the past years, we've seen the TNFD, so nature-related financial disclosures, gather steam, gather momentum. By our stats, you now have over 620 companies from 50 different countries reporting in alignment with the TNFD. So you're starting to get in the integrated reporting of companies, that part being addressed as well. So the nature dependencies, the nature impacts of a company's business model. So again, that should support some of these regulatory initiatives that we've been discussing, and we think that uptake will only increase next year. But welcome your perspective, Shub, on the impact that will have.
No, I think disclosures they would have a strong impact in driving investor confidence in driving accountability. It's going to enhance transparency. It's going to allow investors to accurately assess risks and performance. When corporates go out and they put out financials, they put out governance, they put out the risks, it shows their commitment, it builds credibility, and it sort of creates market confidence, leading to more stable markets. So I think the disclosures are going to have a very strong impact on financial markets.
Yeah. And I guess building on from that, so we talked about the disclosure, about the regulatory developments. What we're seeing as well, I think that's really exciting, is innovation, right? In the types of products that are an instrument that are being developed to support nature positive outcomes. And I guess welcome your thoughts around what are things to look out for in that space, Shubha.
No, definitely. A lot of financial innovation is sort of nature needs that, and it's happening as well. It's happening so that nature positive investments are financially viable and they could be made more attractive to investors as well. So some of these things are like debt for nature swaps, biodiversity credits, or other environmental credits, natural set companies, internal nature pricing. All these things have, it's important to keep an eye out for them. So while there is an interest and there is a surge in private finance as well, given all these innovations, but challenges still exist. There is an extreme need for robust data, standardized metrics, a more enabling environment in general to sort of make sure that all these innovations, with the help of them, nature finance could be scaled up. I think it would be important to have some flexible toolkit which sort of makes using which all these instruments could be used in different contexts, because there is no one solution for all over.
Yeah, I think that's right. And as you say, there's some exciting new instruments that work in certain financing contexts, like you say, debt for nature swaps, biodiversity credits, natural asset companies. But what I would call out as well is even with our traditional suite of green financing products, you can quite easily extend them to have nature positive outcomes. That can be from the type of reporting you do on a particular green bond portfolio. It can be also from having a very specific category in your green financing framework related to particular nature positive projects, or even more specific, particular ocean and water positive projects. And we are starting to see certain investors develop strategies around that. So saying, okay, I'd like to develop a portfolio around blue finance, for instance, or around biodiversity. So I think that's all that's all part, as you say, of the toolkit as well. Um, and as we think about these topics, so a regulatory push, improve disclosures, a better suite of products that become available. We are hopeful that we'll start to see also next year or in 2026 an improved flywheel effect. So really a self-reinforcing loop where we get better reporting, that improves awareness of the topic. It improves, interest in investment strategies, in specific nature financing tools and products, which then should also trigger improved disclosure, improve strategic thinking around the topic. So that interaction between the demand and the supply side of the market. And any final perspective, Shubha, from your end there?
Arthur, I would probably sort of circle back from where we started, that nature impacts our day-to-day life, our basic survival. There is no climate transition without nature. It's important for investors. It's important for the stability of the planet. It's important for the stability of financial markets. So it's going to impact a lot of things, and it's critical for all our listeners and everyone in general to sort of recognize the full value that nature brings. So it's an extremely, nature finance has lagged quite a bit. Nature has lagged in general with respect to the climate over the past few years. The time to act would be now, because we cannot successfully navigate through climate transition and this entire process without having nature as our close ally.
Yes, that's a really good statement to conclude on. Thank you, Shubha, and thank you all for listening and viewing. As I said at the outset, we're doing a number of these in our mini podcast series, so do please follow us on our social media channels. Look on the website to get further informed. Thank you.